Hello, hello, homies. We are back with another Cosmonarchy cast. Today, I'm going to be taking you guys on a journey. We are going to be looking at a best of 3, another one of the upper matches of Acropolis number 2's second gauntlet stage. In this match, we have Shopkeeper Dog representing the Terran side, and Kenoli representing the Zerg side. Kenoli has been on the rise lately, grinding a lot with names such as the Night Fox, and of course, many other players who have just been around in the wee hours. He sometimes plays against people like Hepsea as well. We are going to be taking a look at our TVZ matchup on the following maps. Genesis Y will be our opener, picked by none other than Shopkeeper Dog after banning Check Stealer, what many people believe to be a must-ban versus Zerg players, and perhaps not without good reason. Kenoli follows up after banning Spinal Tap, not interested in the no-ramp play, which does, I would say, it's worst versus Zerg, or for Zerg, and then second worst for Terran. Protoss doesn't really mind as much. He selects Near Impact, so we will be checking that out. A map by Jujic, who also adminned this series. We'll be finishing up after banning Decapitation and Muspelheim. We're going to be looking at Demilune. Kind of interesting that Kenoli bans Muspelheim. It is a map that I would argue favors Zerg, mostly because of the fact that they do get that extra base in the back. That's pretty safe. Anytime you can get that as a Zerg player, you're pretty happy. Think about like Victory Square from eons gone by, like last year when we still played with that map. That was a map that Zerg loved. Obviously, in this particular case, we have Check Stealer with 2 maps, or 2 bases rather, per area, per main. Another situation there that Zerg loves. So we will not be seeing any Zerg-loving maps, but you know what? Genesis-wise, I would say a pretty dead-even map in that respect. However, I will say that it does lend towards fast gameplay, so I wouldn't be surprised if we see a Rush Cheese or whatever, anything like that come out of either player. And we'll be getting right into things. Let's see what our players have in store for us. We will have Kenoli starting in the top right as, I can't remember if he likes Pumpkin. I'm going to say Pumpkin Zerg. There we go. Okay, he does like Pumpkin. And down here, we have Shopkeeper Dog as, I'm going to say Eggshell Blue Terran. All right. We are firing on all cylinders here today, folks. Just as a reminder, this is, of course, Cosmonarchy, a project brought to you as a passion project in many ways by myself, by Veek7, by iQuare, who's still hanging around somewhere, but just not active right now in the Starcraft space. And of course by Darkened Fantasies and a number of other contributors. We do appreciate all of you. And if you want to help support product development, you can donate directly to Veek7 and myself. We have a coffee page that is right now being advertised in the bottom right of your screen, but you can also check it out, of course, in the description. We will be seeing Shopkeeper Dog go for a Scout and his Fulcrum opener. We don't really see Shopkeeper Dog ever go Bio. It is something that he doesn't really appreciate that much. Although I do remember him playing Bio a little bit in the past, specifically in TVT. We'll see if maybe we end up getting any games where he plays versus Terran and checks that out. By the way, Kenoli over here going for a pool opener. So we will not be seeing the Kagrant so early for that Larvosk that we usually end up seeing out of him. This does, to me, tell me that he's wary of vulture openings from his opponent and probably also wants to go for a little bit of an early aggro. He has already scouted his opponent in that way. Shopkeeper Dog looking around. I wonder what he's doing. Is he just trying to maybe like pocket build a structure and hoping that the Drilleth won't see him? Right now, the Drilleth is not, it's not going to actually see this Mason out there. So this could be like a pocket Fulcrum. Sometimes I have seen Shopkeeper Dog try to do that. His first one is going to finish. He's going to immediately think about starting a thing. No, he's actually going to go for that Fulcrum. Funnily enough, right at the edge. So if this Drilleth leaves the base, which it is going to do, it will actually see that as part of the wall. Meanwhile, the Larvosk has already started back at home. A second one being put down while the Mason over here gets tickled. Greeted by the local denizens. He was just trying to go pumpkin picking, but it is not Halloween. However, post in the comments if you agree. I feel like it's always Halloween, you know what I mean? Like, you might as well just have it be Halloween all the time. Year-round Halloween, please. Halloween, definitely one of the better seasons, I think, that we have here. It's not really a season, but it brings with it a certain respect for, like, the start of the cold weather, you know what I mean? But it's not super cold. It's not inhospitable. I guess you can tell that to the homeless. We got a second vulture coming on out here for our dog, our canine friend. He is going to go Scrapyard. I'm suspecting this will be add-on, and then he can use it as, like, a funnel. Maybe? No, he's actually going for an anchor right next to it. Okay, so there's going to be some Cyclops coming out here. Looks like Dog is elected to go for a little bit more of a defensive posture. His Mason Scout sticking around behind enemy lines. Will be trying to keep watch for an expansion timing. If you don't scout an expansion anytime soon, then you know your opponent is probably going for a military-minded hold. And we are going to see triple Larvosk on one base. This is going to be 4 larvae every 14 seconds once this Kagrant Cesian finishes. All right, the anchor is complete. Now, the Vultures can go into it, but usually you want to reserve that for ranged units. Well, Vultures are technically ranged units, but units that have more of a range than that. I can't believe it, but we have a Matador. Its purpose here clearly to block versus, you know, a lot of, shall we say, Zethrakors. Anything that is going to get close enough to them will get roasted. A second Matador going to block the other hole there on that ramp. And we're going to see a couple of shots here go awry for Kenoli as one of the mines does end up proccing there. Looks like this Quaz might end up moving a little bit further forward to clear that other one, or it'll just hang out. So this Mason does end up moving over here. It is going to see the Drolith move out, but Dog is not going to scramble in the way to try to block that. Bit of a missed opportunity for him if he wanted to do that, but he will get in and see the Vornath start. And you also can see that there's still Vespene harvesting here. So as you're in this kind of position to get that worker in there, it does tell you that, okay, your opponent is going to be able to make those air units. It looks like they're harvesting Vespene, so it could very well be that. A third Matador. Okay. You know, I was just musing recently that nobody builds Matadors. I'm glad that Shopkeeper Dog is proving me wrong. Switching into a Blackjack off of that first Fulcrum. 2 Stockades coming down. I feel like maybe this is actually a reaction to seeing what Kenoli has been up to with his Vornath. Because when you see that, you are going to be expecting a lot of Nathakors to come out here. And Kenoli is going to go ahead and queue up a few. I'm guessing he's going to do that very soon. He's really waiting for some magic breakpoint. Maybe he wants to make like 3 or 4 pairs at once or something like that. Definitely musing on it. He's letting his money bank up for now. He doesn't really have a good Animus to move forward. He's actually going to make 10 Vorvs. Okay, well, I'm not really sure what they're going to accomplish too much. They do rend armor by 1, but Matadors have 4. You're still you're still in 3 armor territory at that point, you know what I mean? And yeah, at that point, is it really going to be that good? I mean, we do have a Watchdog coming out here. Maybe there's a chance that this can be broken, but I think he needs Hydras for that if he wants to actually try that kind of bust. And the Vorvs themselves are going to be good for catching an army. This is like an anti-Protoss composition here with the Vorvs. Although I haven't seen them being used versus Protoss that much, to be fair. Kenoli reconsidering his options. He does have about half the Vespene cost he would need to go into a fast tier 2, which he might just decide to do as he's now beginning to saturate the gas in his natural. One thing that I will point out is that he does have full saturation of gas in his main. He's only got partial saturation over here. You need 1 extra worker on that gas, on both of those gas nodes there. I love that Kenoli is starting to take a little bit of charge when it comes to the map control. He's got a Quaz over here for watching anti-drop. He's got a bunch of units in various locations. Care for run-bys, making sure he understands every expansion. Just about, obviously. He's a little far away from this and doesn't have anything down in the bottom left. Right now, though, 2-base play. I'm going to say Shopkeeper Dog is going to appreciate this position. However, Kenoli is gunning for that tier 2. And I can tell you that because he's making a lot of Quaz. When you're building this many Quaz and your gas is this high, you're going for that tier 2 and you're going specifically to drop the Vornath upgrade eventually and then get a bunch of Lyrilisks. But that being said, Kenoli has other ideas. He's going to go for the Hydrith Den preemptively before he gets that 900 gas breakpoint. Actually going to delay his tier 3 or tier 2 ever so slightly. We do have just random scouting Zeth there. I thought maybe there'd be a move out, but not quite. He has the ability. He can throw down that... Okay, there it is. I was going to say, is he really going to just sit on all this money? He can go ahead and do that. He's got a lot of minerals in the bag, too. He could definitely be expanding at the same time as this, but an Antseal is going to move through the map and start to just move around and see what's up, see what's going on here. When you damage the Antseal, it is first dealt to its energy, and that energy is also damaged instead of units that the Antseal is hovering over. So around that bubble there, basically the effective range. Little set of stutter steps. Nothing too significant. 3 pairs of Nathakors just finished. You know, another lethal thing that you can do as a Zerg player once you hit tier 2 is go for Calculus, because those do a lot of damage. An anchor has been lifted off, anchor's away, and it is flying towards the north of the map. That is just going to end up being a scout, maybe a little bit of a bait. We are going to see a total shellacking. Kenoli seems to be immediately... He's just letting those forces die, bleed out, so that he can focus all of his attention on the static defense that he's erecting at his natural. And I guess this is one of those areas where you do watch out as a Zerg player going for 2-base tier 2. If you're going for a third base, that's another target for your opponent. Although, you know, I say that, maybe delaying your opponent going into your natural would actually be a good thing. So if you were to try to, say, take this space in the top left, it's like splitting up the targets that the Zerg player can go for. We have a Madrigal starting. That is going to be a very important unit. If there is going to be that Calculus switch, the Calculator Lake is only about halfway done. Tier 2 static defense starting to mutate. There is nothing for siege here. So if Shopkeeper Dog ends up walking up here and dealing with this force, you know, the static defense will rip him a new one. He's got to watch out for that. Here comes the sheer number of quads. They are not Lyrilisks yet, my man, though that structure has finished. This might have just been the perfect timing to stop the tier 2 from happening. An Antseal coming over here, but it's not actually shielding too much yet. You can see there's actually a lot of damage going on to Shopkeeper Dog's units right now, but there aren't really any actual combat units in this general vicinity, so that's actually going to be enough for Shopkeeper Dog to break out the natural. And as far as I'm concerned, I mean, you lose your natural, it's going to be a very long time before you're competitive with the Terran player, economically speaking. And, you know, sure, you're making the Calculisks. Yeah, you're making the Lyrilisks. I guess maybe Shopkeeper Dog won't actually break him in this moment, especially since he didn't seem to rally up his madrigals. But, you know, he could bring that anchor up. That would have been pretty funny. So the Antseal does end up going down. You can see how long it takes them to actually break down some of the high armor targets like the Matadors, but eventually they will fall. And now the tier 2 army on one base is indeed all Kenoli has. His economy in the bin, down 20 workers, down one base. A third ministry has already been constructed, and we're going to add another fulcrum for additional production here. We are going to have that anchor occupy the Calculisks for a very short amount of time. Even with that paltry force that Shopkeeper Dog had left over, he still bruised the Calcs a little bit, so they are going to be about half HP before any attack comes in. Love to see that Madrigal either deploy versus the ground or just keep nimble so it can try to splash down the Calcs. Looks like maybe Dog is thinking the other way for now. He has one Cyprian for splash. Another Madrigal here. Okay, the Calcs really aren't going to be that much of a threat. You can see how immediately one of them ends up getting regressed into an Athracore. This ministry, it's actually kind of a red herring. Sure, it doesn't finish, right? But like you can see here, this small number of Calcs is really not going to be enough. That's actually the 4th ministry that Shopkeeper Dog has. He's been powering on workers this whole time with this ministry that he's going to go ahead and think about maybe lifting off to the bottom left, as this ministry, of course, needs to be finished. More scrapyards coming online. 4 more blackjacks, I'm guessing. As much as I would love to dream more about Matadors. Although at this point, I do think Dog could build anything and probably win. He does have a dearth of Vespene gas, which is funny. You know, he doesn't actually have his tier 2 on the way, but he's just building, you know, Madrigals. He's building Shaman. He's definitely adding a lot more in the form of scrapyards just so he can actually spend his mineral bank down, I think. Never did end up finishing that ministry, which is pretty funny. But definitely wants to transfer some workers onto that gas at the 3rd base. He's now up 2 full bases in terms of economy. We are going to see a worker transfer come in for Kenoli as he tries to resaturate that natural, which does leave his main a little bit understated, but, you know, obviously it's going to mine out faster than the natural, so you're okay with that for now. That being said, Kenoli is hanging on, but he just doesn't really have the ability to affect change on the map right now, I feel like. Just moving around here with Shopkeeper Dog getting that Antseal for vision on the high ground. Just having one of them is really, really quite useful. I feel like it's a pretty big game changer because it does allow you to take these fights with some element of idea of what's going on here. However, Kenoli's fighting with some of his units, maybe a 3rd of his army not actually mutated right now, idle. So he's not really taking the best option he could as far as trying to take this fight. There is that one Phalanx that's doing a lot of damage, up to 500 now. Another shot should be good for it to crack that barrier. And now more Lyrilisks have arrived, so maybe Kenoli can overwhelm this. 15 pairs of Zethacores being made. Could he still maybe pull out a military-based victory here, as Shopkeeper Dog, of course, has been powering up with his worker count, but not necessarily with his military. There is another Phalanx set up, somewhat defensively. Looks like another one further back here, and does splatter a couple of those Lyrilisks. We are going to see a worker pull. Ooh, the Phalanx shot actually hits that Mason. Not ideal. This one also lifting off just for show, I guess. Doesn't want to get tickled by that Quaz the whole time. Another Fulcrum is indeed done. We're going to see some move outs here as more scrapyards do get scrambled up to add. I'm really surprised that Kenoli is finding success at all, given the situation, right? Like, I really don't think that he should have been able to win that fight, but I think maybe Shopkeeper Dog might have gotten a little bit overconfident just attacking up the ramp. And so the bounce damage plus the range advantage, it really does end up adding up. Most of his Shamans I don't think were actually in that fight, although I think he had at least one. Making a bunch of Vorvacors off to the side of the map here, 30 of them in fact. Another scrap cobbled pool set of units. I mean, he's got this den, he hasn't actually made anything out of it as far as I've seen. No Hydras, and certainly no Iziracors. All right, the Vorvs are going to go ahead and try to get loose. As Kenoli is starting to take this place yet again, the Lyrilisks are not actually going to have cliff advantage as of right now. We are going to see the Madrigal get torn to shreds. buy all of those Vorvicors. Where are the Matadors, my man? That's probably what you need. But I think the Blackjacks might actually be enough to get rid of this front line. I just am not 100% sure about the Remax. Okay, he does have more units coming in, but yeah, it looks like too much of a crushing defeat in terms of the military there. There were more reinforcements coming in, and that is going to be game number 1, going the way of Shopkeeper Dog. This is exactly what I would have expected, where you end up losing the natural at any point in the game early on. You're still on 2 bases. The risk of going 2 base tier 2. I can see why Kenoli decided to go for it after going for those Vorvs in the early game. He kind of backed himself into a corner where he spent a lot of minerals on stuff that could have been another hatch. It could have been maybe, Nathicores, minerals towards Nathicores. Then he decides to keep his gas going, for a while. It felt like maybe a cascading set of like, well, I made this decision that put me in this situation that now makes me feel like this is the best decision to take, and so on and so forth. Anyway, we are going to go on to game number 2. It will be Near Impact. Stay tuned. And we are off to the races on Near Impact. Shopkeeper Dog down here in the bottom right as the Vine Green Terran. Okay. And Kenoli, of course, the Pumpkin Zerg. Kind of a cheat to know him. But hey, I got Shopkeeper Dog's colors correct both times. So 100% color guess accuracy so far. Let's see if I can... I don't know if I'll have an opportunity to fail. This is a map that Shopkeeper Dog has played a lot. So I might have already secured it. But I got to see if Kenoli can take us to a third map here in the setup here. In fact, I've already prematurely declared the winner, apparently, according to the overlay. Let me just go ahead and fix that for you guys. So on this particular map, I am pretty sure that... In fact, I actually don't know who's advantaged race-wise on this particular map. It does feel like it's a pretty well-balanced map, like middle-of-the-road map for all races. I think every race has something that they like about this map, and every race has something that they maybe are a little bit less happy about on this map. For example, I think Terran probably doesn't like how much air control you can get versus them, because Terran usually has the slowest to ramp up air control. Although by counter to that, they have probably the strongest and most comprehensive tier 2 air offerings. I was going to say arsenal, but offering sounds better. So I would say that is probably something that's kind of interesting about the Terran matchup, is that, versus Zerg, you are expecting a lot of Vornath or something like that. But hey, we can talk about that later. What we're dealing with right now is a very, very early pool, and there is a lot of gas coming for that much-needed Larvosk Cesiant. So this little 6 pool went to the market. The market, that's what it was. This little piggy stayed home. The Fulcrum is on the... Second Fulcrum is on the low ground. That is rife material for plucking. Kenoli is going to go ahead and see if he can go, into the pumpkin orchard. He's going to go ahead and kill the Mason, and he's just going to walk away from that position. We do have the Vulture out and loose. It can definitely go ahead and micro a little bit better. Oh, man, taking 3 shots to kill a Zeph. That's because of that hesitation. If you let him regenerate even once, that's not going to work out too well for him. Now, again, Shopkeeper Dog is ahead in workers still, despite losing 3 workers to that Zeth Rush. One of the workers is all the way out here, so actually Vulture should be able to move across the map and kill that. That's a little bit sloppy from Kenoli. He's going to go ahead and pull that away, and it doesn't look like Dog is going to pounce on the opportunity just yet. Fulcrum going to go ahead and be resumed on the low ground, and see he likes that aspect of trying to wall up there. And okay, well, I mean, a second Larvosk is on the way. 8 workers is not ideal here, but Kenoli still has some play in the server, so to speak. It's not really a server. This is not a server-based game. I mean, we do run CrownLink off a server, but you don't connect to that server. You know what I mean? You know what I mean, guys? Gonna go ahead and lay the mines. Some kind of strange concoction going on here. Ooh, that's a pretty good mine hit. And that's an even better mine hit. Second Vulture on the way. Well, third Vulture, really. And a little bit more on the... Yeah, there we go. Now he's going to go ahead and clear some of these pool units. If the quads go down, this could go real bad here for Kenoli, because the Zets will just get picked apart. And that's all that he has right now. Going to go ahead and power up with some more quads. Still not that many workers. You could tell maybe he was saving up for some, like an expansion of some kind. But even on 3 larvae every 14 seconds, he's still feeling the burn. On 8 workers alone. He's building up quite the military. Falling back. Not okay, there you go. I was going to say you should definitely pick that, or try to. Ooh, bopped. Bopped and dropped. A Blackjack's made it all the way over here. There are some more mines back here. Definitely an opportunity for Shopkeeper Dog to pounce on him, potentially. No, that Vulture's going to go all the way in. only to get caught by some more units off of the rally point. And it looks like at this point, I think Kenoli has done it. Remember, he's still very much all in on 8 workers only. Anchor now halfway constructed as the vultures scream back. There is at least 1 mine, 4 mines between them. Could definitely be putting those down. Dog now realizing maybe he's taking a little bit too long for that. But Kenoli's not going to dive in just yet. He's actually going to try to clear those with his lovely set of Zeths. First 2 Cyclops are in the Anchor. The Matador is able to staff the wall here. Love to see maybe like a Fulcrum up here or something like that. I mean, he just doesn't have the gas right now, mostly. He's just going to go ahead and drop another Anchor. All right, the Quads are fancying an idea. Remember the splash damage from the Cyclops. Actually, both Cyclops individually inside that Anchor, RNG, well, it's not really RNG, but like effectively random on their targeting. They target separate units. That's actually super difficult for Kenoli to stick around. Because if that's the case, then you're talking about like spreading the damage maximally. And so that is definitely going to be a bit of an awkward situation there. Many more Zeths coming. Still no workers sticking on the 8-worker wonder. Kenoli, he's trying to make it work. Still not able to spend down all of his minerals. And despite his best efforts. I mean, he has got a lot of minerals now, so maybe he's waiting for a hatch or something. All right, the Cyclops are awash. The Anchors, not that top Anchor, not actually going to be held. There's so many Zeths. So many of them are getting so roasted, though. This Matador not... Oh, it's not even at halfway health. Oh, my God. Just a pure destruction. A tidal wave of death. And pretty much everything gets held. 1 Mason, the only real consequence. Of course, a single Anchor also goes down, and that must be crushing. Kenoli calls it there. GG. We've got Shopkeeper Dog in there as well. I guess I should have just kept my prediction when my accidental prediction on the Shopkeeper Dog win there. That was an interesting game. Jujic told me that there was a moment that was butt clenching for him as an observer, as the ref. I was very surprised to see that the moment came 5 minutes into the game. But that is Shopkeeper Dog proceeding in the upper bracket. I believe his next opponent would have been... Who would it have been? Let's go ahead and check. It will be Jack Yelansky for qualification to the main stage of the tournament. The Battlement stage is up next. This could be Shopkeeper Dog's debut in a big event, and he did narrowly miss out on Tyrant's Tale's main event due to losing to Mystery Meat and then later to Veek. So he was in both of the qualification series for that particular event. Shout out to him for that. Unfortunate for him, I guess he wasn't in both of them. He was only in the lower one. But he made it all the way to the lower one, and he was moments away from defeating Mystery Meat, but couldn't quite make it happen. Either way, though, that is where we find ourselves closing out this series. A pretty exciting one. I'm glad to see Kenoli try to make it competitive off of 2 base tier 2 and then 1 base tier 2, and then, of course, the 8-worker wonder. Man, that is very interesting stuff. We've always got more to talk about in Cosmonarchy land, so come on, join us for our Discord server. We got a link to that in the description and on your screen. Definitely start playing some games with us. You can be, you can get ready for the next tournament. It probably won't be too long. So just saying, just throwing that out there. And of course, we love to have you here on the YouTube channel as well. So stay subscribed, and we will be back soon for more content. GG.